Why does the world's most powerful nation fear Iran's nuclear weapons? Why does America accept 9 nuclear powers, but refuse the 10th? And why does Iran fight so desperately for this weapon, despite devastating sanctions? Did you know that nuclear war almost erupted in the Middle East more than once? And that there was a secret plan to destroy Iranian nuclear facilities ready for execution? What if I told you that the fate of the entire region depends on decisions made behind closed doors, and that there are secrets governments hide from their people about this file? Welcome everyone, I'm Dr. Yasser, and I'm here today to reveal all the hidden truths behind the Iranian nuclear file. I am a specialized researcher in Iranian politics and Middle Eastern studies. Today, I will uncover the secrets that governments don't want you to know. I will answer all the questions I pose to you. And much more. I won't settle for the ordinary news you hear in mainstream media. Instead, I will take you deep into the political game, into secret negotiation rooms, and into the heart of great power conflicts. And I will do all this in a clear and simplified way that everyone can understand. All the information you will hear today is documented with reliable sources, and I will present all parties' perspectives with honesty and transparency. This is not just an ordinary episode. This is a real exploratory journey, and I am here to be your guide on this journey. If you are looking for truth instead of rumors, and if you want to understand events instead of just following them, then you are in the right place. I promise you that after this video, you will look at the news with completely different eyes, and you will understand the reality of what is happening in the region. This is my promise to you. The Iranian nuclear program is one of contemporary international relations' most complex and contentious issues. For over 2 decades, this program has shaped Middle Eastern geopolitics and strained relations between Tehran and the international community. The nuclear file involves intricate layers of diplomatic negotiation, economic sanctions, military threats, and regional power dynamics that continue to influence global security calculations. What began as a civilian nuclear energy program has evolved into a crisis that touches every aspect of Iran's domestic and foreign policy, while simultaneously challenging American hegemony in the Middle East. Understanding this multifaceted issue requires examining the perspectives, motivations, and strategic calculations of all parties involved, particularly the United States and Iran themselves. The American perspective. Why the United States opposes Iranian nuclear capabilities. The American position against Iranian nuclear weapons stems from several strategic considerations that extend far beyond simple proliferation concerns. The United States views Iran's nuclear ambitions as fundamentally destabilizing to a region already fraught with tensions and competing interests. Regional balance of power represents the primary American concern. Iran's acquisition of nuclear weapons would dramatically alter Middle Eastern dynamics, potentially triggering an arms race that could see Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt pursuing their own nuclear capabilities. This domino effect would undermine decades of American non-proliferation efforts and create multiple nuclear flashpoints in one of the world's most volatile regions. The existential threat to Israel compounds American concerns. Israeli leaders have consistently characterized Iran's nuclear program as an existential danger, requiring preemptive action if necessary. Given America's strategic alliance with Israel and its commitment to Israeli security, Washington cannot ignore Tehran's nuclear advances without risking a major crisis with its key regional partner. Historical animosity between Iran and the United States adds another dimension to this opposition. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran has positioned itself as the primary challenger to American influence in the Middle East, consistently labeling the United States as the Great Satan and supporting proxy groups across the region. This fundamental ideological opposition makes nuclear weapons in Iranian hands particularly threatening from an American perspective, unlike other nuclear powers that developed their capabilities during the Cold War under the umbrella of bipolar competition. Iran's nuclear program emerges in an era where the United States maintains global hegemony. Countries like India and Pakistan faced limited sanctions when they tested nuclear weapons because they did not directly challenge American regional interests or threaten key allies to the same degree. The question of sanctions. Relief. Complete sanctions relief remains highly unlikely, even if Iran abandons its nuclear program entirely. American sanctions against Iran operate on multiple levels, addressing nuclear activities, terrorism support, human rights violations, and ballistic missile development. These overlapping sanction regimes create a complex web that cannot be easily dismantled. The 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action demonstrated this complexity. Even when Iran agreed to significant nuclear restrictions, sanctions relief remained partial and gradual. Many restrictions remained in place due to Iran's support for regional proxy groups, its ballistic missile program, and human rights concerns. Congressional opposition in the United States further complicates any comprehensive sanctions relief. Multiple legislative measures have created statutory requirements for sanctions that extend beyond nuclear issues, making executive action alone insufficient for complete relief. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' designation as a terrorist organization exemplifies these additional complications that persist regardless of nuclear negotiations. Why military action remains unlikely. The United States has consistently avoided direct military confrontation with Iran, despite repeated threats and provocations. Several factors explain this strategic restraint compared to previous military interventions in Iraq and Afghanistan. Geographic and demographic realities make Iran a far more challenging military target. Iran's territory spans 1.6 million square kilometers. Compared to Iraq's 438,000, its population of 85 million far exceeds Iraq's 25 million at the time of the 2003 invasion. The mountainous terrain would complicate any ground operations, while the larger population would make occupation extremely costly. The American experience in Iraq and Afghanistan has demonstrated the enormous financial and political cost of prolonged military engagement. The Iraq War alone cost over $2 trillion, while failing to achieve lasting stability. American public opinion has turned decisively against new military adventures, making presidential authorization for Iranian military action politically difficult. Iran's asymmetric capabilities provide significant deterrent effects. Tehran's ability to close the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of global oil flows, creates economic leverage that Iraq never possessed. The network of regional proxy groups, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to the Houthis in Yemen, gives Iran multiple avenues for retaliation that could engulf the entire region in conflict.
The Iranian perspective. Why Iran pursues nuclear capabilities. Iranian nuclear ambitions reflect deep-seated security concerns and regional aspirations that transcend the current political leadership. The Islamic Republic views nuclear capabilities as essential for national survival in a hostile regional environment. Security considerations dominate Iranian strategic thinking. Iran finds itself surrounded by American military bases, from Afghanistan to the Persian Gulf, while facing constant threats of military action from both the United States and Israel. The memory of the Iran-Iraq War, during which Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons against Iranian forces while receiving Western support, reinforces these security concerns. Regional hegemony aspirations drive Iranian nuclear calculations. As the heir to ancient Persian civilization, Iran views itself as the natural regional power in the Middle East. Nuclear capabilities would cement this status, while providing leverage against regional rivals, particularly Saudi Arabia and Turkey. The nuclear program represents Iran's bid to restore historical Persian influence across the region. Domestic legitimacy considerations cannot be ignored. The nuclear program enjoys broad popular support across Iran's political spectrum, representing national pride and technological achievement, rather than purely military capabilities. Even reformist politicians who criticize other government policies generally support Iran's nuclear rights as a matter of national dignity. Coping with international isolation. Iran has developed sophisticated strategies to manage international isolation and economic pressure. These adaptive mechanisms allow Tehran to maintain its nuclear program despite unprecedented sanctions. Strategic partnerships with China and Russia provide crucial economic and political support. These relationships offer alternative trade routes, financial systems, and diplomatic protection that reduce the effectiveness of Western sanctions. The emerging multipolar world order creates opportunities for Iran to align with powers challenging American hegemony. Economic adaptation has included developing indigenous technological capabilities, reducing dependence on foreign imports, and creating alternative financial mechanisms. Iran's resistance economy philosophy emphasizes self-reliance while building resilience against external pressure. Cryptocurrency and barter systems help circumvent traditional banking restrictions. Regional proxy networks extend Iranian influence despite diplomatic isolation. Groups like Hezbollah, the Houthis, and various Iraqi militias provide Iran with strategic depth and bargaining leverage. These relationships allow Tehran to project power across the Middle East, while maintaining plausible deniability for direct confrontation. Implications of Iranian nuclear weapons. If Iran successfully develops nuclear weapons, several scenarios could unfold, each carrying significant implications for regional and global security. A regional arms race represents the most immediate concern. Saudi Arabia has already indicated it would pursue nuclear weapons if Iran acquires them, while Turkey and Egypt might follow suit. This proliferation cascade would create multiple nuclear flashpoints in an already unstable region. Alternatively, nuclear weapons might create a new equilibrium based on mutual deterrence. Just as nuclear weapons prevented direct superpower conflict during the Cold War, they might reduce the likelihood of conventional warfare in the Middle East. However, this stability would come at the cost of increased proxy conflicts and regional tensions. The international community might eventually accept Iranian nuclear status as a fait accompli, leading to gradual reintegration. Historical precedents with India, Pakistan, and North Korea suggest that determined nuclear programs eventually achieve de facto recognition, despite initial international opposition.
Conclusion. The Iranian nuclear file represents one of the defining challenges of 21st century international relations. The complex interplay of American security concerns, Iranian aspirations, and regional dynamics creates a seemingly intractable problem that defies simple solutions. American opposition reflects legitimate concerns about regional stability, alliance commitments, and global non-proliferation norms. However, military options remain limited, while economic pressure has failed to halt Iranian nuclear progress. The United States faces the difficult task of maintaining credible deterrence, while avoiding actions that could trigger regional war. Iran's nuclear program emerges from rational security calculations and historical grievances that cannot be easily dismissed. The Islamic Republic has demonstrated remarkable resilience in pursuing its nuclear ambitions despite enormous costs. Tehran's regional strategy suggests it views nuclear capabilities as essential for long-term survival and influence. The ultimate resolution of this crisis will likely require creative diplomacy that addresses the core security concerns of all parties. Neither maximum pressure nor military threats have proven sufficient to resolve the fundamental issues at stake. The international community must grapple with the reality that Iran's nuclear program reflects deeper questions about regional order, Middle Eastern security arrangements, and the future of the global non-proliferation regime. The stakes could not be higher. Failure to manage this crisis effectively risks nuclear proliferation, regional war, and the collapse of international non-proliferation efforts. Success would demonstrate that diplomatic engagement can resolve even the most intractable international disputes while preserving global security interests.